Mike and Tom are registered with Stewart Partners Global Advisory LLC.
Common Sense Finance with Mike Wiginton and Tom Farrell of HL Wiginton Capital Management, an independent investment and financial planning firm in downtown Jasper. Mike is a chartered financial analyst charter holder, and Tom is a certified financial planner professional. They are here to discuss and give their thoughts on current financial and economic matters. Now, with Common Sense Finance, here are Mike and Tom.
Hey everybody, this is Mike and Tom. Today we're going to be talking about the question that we hear or have received a lot. How much do I need to retire? How much money do I need to retire? And get into this. Don't forget to check out the emails at the bottom and shoot us any questions or comments that you may have about your thoughts on this question. Anyway, Tom, the hallmark, the central piece of our financial planning efforts is we don't want the clients to run out of money before they die. How do you respond to these folks? How much do I need to retire?
Well, you know, that reminds me of I think it was an insurance company that started this advertising campaign. You know, what's your number?
Yes.
Kind of deal. And I get asked that question a lot, and my answer is always, well, it depends. It depends on three factors really. When do you plan to retire? What's your lifestyle going to be in retirement? Are you planning on doing a lot of traveling, doing a lot of extravagant spending, maybe more than you did before you retired? And how long of a retirement do you expect to have? So we look at all three of those factors. The first factor is when do you plan to retire? Obviously, if you plan to retire at a younger age, you're going to need more money put back. We look at a safe withdrawal rate to be around 4%. That's kind of like the industry guideline. So if you can generate enough money withdrawing 4% off your portfolio to retire, you should be in good shape for a 30-year retirement. If you're invested properly, that's another thing. Kind of a sub factor of that. You have to be invested properly to maintain that withdrawal rate.
Well, I was just going to say that before you pass through that I've had the remarks made several times to me that, well, look, I may if I'm expected to make 8 to 10% a year, which is what you guys tell me in the investment business on my stock investments, shouldn't I be able to withdraw 8 to 10% a year? And that's gotten a lot of not just people, but that's gotten a lot of institutions into trouble, right? Yeah. And it's like I say to people here, if this comes out, clearly, kind of put that in a nutshell, is that okay, you know that you might not know this. The stock market goes down sometimes, all right, and sometimes it goes down an awful lot. Mm-hmm. So what happens is when the market goes down an awful lot, and on top of that drawdown, you're also taking your withdrawal out. The problem is that you can impair it so much that the principal never comes back to what it was.
Right.
That's the beginning of running out of money, right?
So, and we run into this a lot, or we have, if somebody's used to a certain amount of money being drawn out of their portfolio each year, and they're generating that off a smaller amount, that's going to be a bigger percentage that's coming out, and that's where you can get into trouble.
Right. And so I was just going to, just kind of emphasize the point that you're making, that for years and years, it's been like in the halls of finance, one of the main problems they worked on is what is a long-term sustainable withdrawal rate. So year one when you retire, how much of that portfolio can I take out? And this was aimed at 100% stock portfolio, okay? How much can I withdraw of that original balance? And no matter how far the stock market went down, my principal always came back to where it was.
Right.
And that number for a long time has been 4%, mm-hmm. okay? And there's some hybrids of that strategy, hybrids of that 4% rule. If you're flexible, and I think you're going to talk about flexibility in your financial plan, that if you have some flexibility, then you can some years take a little bit more than 4%, right? But then in other years you may take a little bit less than 4%.
Right.
And there are some hybrids, but I know you're going to talk about some of the flexibility that's required to do that.
Right, and that's a very important factor too, is that do you have flexibility in your plan? Are you going to be able to, in those lean years, do you have some cushion? Can you cut back on some of your expenses? or maybe do you have a part-time job, or are you earning some income in some other areas, or are you willing to do that? That's a very important factor in, hey, your number, how much do I need to retire? And when they ask that question, the question is always aimed at, is this going to last me the rest of my life? Right, so one of the factors that can help that portfolio take pressure off of it and help it to last the rest of your life is having flexibility, being able to make adjustments.
What would you say the biggest wrecking ball in today's world, the biggest wrecking ball to most financial plans or retirement plans would be? Would it be the current low level of interest rates, or would it be the life expectancy, the increases in life expectancy? How you're plan? What are you planning? What in the CFP, Certified Financial Planning folks, suggest planning out to what minimum ages today?
94 for women and 93 for men.
A lot of people laugh when they hear that, but that has to do with the longer life expectancies due to innovation and technology that we talked about in other broadcasts, right? In other video podcasts. And so, so which do you think has wreaked the most havoc on financial plans, life expectancy or interest rates?
Yes, I think it's right for this day and age. I think it's both. I think and maybe a little bit more life expectancy, but with interest rates being so low and people living longer, that's a bad combination. So you have to be invested properly, and even if some people it makes them uncomfortable, you have to have some growth in your portfolio. If you're dependent on if you built a nest egg for retirement and you're dependent on that to help maintain your lifestyle, to pay the bills, then you need some growth in there. If you're expecting to live a 25, 30 plus year retirement, generating 2% in the CD may be okay for the first couple of years, but once you start pulling some of that principal out, that's where you really need some growth, is in years 10, 15, and 20, because it'll start showing up. It's not going to show up in the first couple of years. It'll start showing up down the road that you haven't had enough growth in there. So that's another thing that we run into is, folks that maybe are hesitant to add a little growth because they've heard, hey, when I retire, I need to get money out of the stock market. Don't need to have as much money in the stock market. I need to do stuff that's safer, which really is not the case.
Any words to these folks that think they're too young to start financial plans, don't have enough resources or enough of an asset base to worry about financial planning? Any words to those folks?
No, I think the earlier you start, the better shape you're going to be in, no doubt, because most of the folks that are really start getting concerned about this are well into their 50s, most of them, right?
That's right.
So if you start this process at a younger age, when you first start your career, get your first real job out of school, whether it's high school or college, and you start the planning process, get in the habit of paying yourself first. It kind of is snowball effect. You start building, you see a little bit something going on. Hey, my account's grown, and look, it's gotten to a certain point. That's where you're going to make a huge impact, because $1 saved in your 20s is worth numerous dollars that you save in your 50s because you've had time to compound that already.
It's some form of psychobabble, isn't it? That you come in at age 62 and you've already determined that you're going to retire in a year or two, and say, okay, tell me what I need to do. Let's do some planning now. I mean, really?
Yeah, it's too late. Sorry, we're not. I mean, we can help you, but it's not going to be as effective.
So it's a whole lot better to be at 28 and saying, I think it's too early, but say, hey, no, do a budget maybe, find a few extra dollars, start the financial planning then. Right, then
That's right.
I've got a couple of years. What am I going to do about this, Doc?
Yeah, and unfortunately, a lot of people start planning their retirement off of their age, that number, when they should be planning it off of, hey, do I have enough? Like we talked about, and using those factors, because we hate to see people get into trouble in retirement, because it's usually too late after you've retired 3-4 years. After you pulled the trigger.
That's right.
And you find out, man, I'm not able to live like I want to live, and I don't have enough money to make those adjustments. It's probably too late. So the earlier you can start that, the better.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I really hope that especially the psychobabble comment, maybe generates some emails to come in. And there's just so many factors as there are in most of the issues and conversations we're having, but especially none more so than the retirement. Do I have enough money to retire? and what my life expectancy is like. So any thoughts or comments about that, we'd love to hear them. Shoot us an email. Until next time.
Just can't believe all the things people say. Controversy. Am I black or white? Am I straight or gay? Controversy. Do I believe in God? Do I believe in me? Controversy. 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 I can't understand